everyone, I'm Tanya. Thank you so much for joining me today for this video. Today we're going to put some money into the 7.5k binder and give a bit of an update on Ngahri. We are home. She's had her surgery. I think all in all it went well. It was very slow moving and of course it cost more than what was estimated, but she seems to be doing well. So we went up to the Gold Coast Tuesday night. She had to be at the vet 9 a.m. Wednesday. So she was going in to have a CT scan to see what they were working with and to make sure that surgery was actually a viable option. And then if that was the case, she would go straight into surgery. So we dropped her off at 9 o'clock. We got told to call back just after lunch if we hadn't heard anything. So it got to about 1 o'clock. So we called. She still hadn't had the CT scan yet. So then they called us back later in the afternoon, maybe 4 o'clock, saying she's had the CT scan, but they were a little unsure, so they wanted to send her results off to radiology to get a clearer picture before going in for surgery. So then that pushed surgery back till the next day. So they kept her in Wednesday night, and then called us. It was pretty early, maybe 9:30 on the Thursday morning, and said that the radiology came back that it was all good to go. They had a clear picture of what they needed to do. So they said surgery would be happening in the next couple of hours. So then about 2:30 in the afternoon, we get a phone call, and they're like, have you signed a consent form? Because we can't go ahead with the surgery unless you've signed a consent form. And it's like, well, no, you haven't given us a consent form. And then they're also like, and you need to make a deposit, you need to pay 70% of the surgery before we can do it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you've had a day and a half that you could have done all this. So we were out, trying to keep ourselves busy. So I'm trying to digitally sign a consent form and depositing $10,000 was the 70-cent deposit. And in the consent form, the estimate was always $10,000 to $12,000. And even when we spoke to the surgeon the day we dropped her off, it should come in at around $11,800. Now with the consent form, the estimate was now $13,000 to $15,000. And it's like, wow, that changed significantly. But anyway, so we did all that, and then it was probably 4:30, 5 o'clock Thursday afternoon we got the call. She'd had the surgery. They said her blood pressure went up and down a little bit through the procedure, so they were keeping an eye on that, but it was currently stable. They said they would see how she goes overnight, and if everything was okay, they said we should be able to take her home Friday afternoon, but if not, she may have to stay till Saturday morning. So we're like, okay, well, yeah, we'll just hope for the best. And then they called back about 7:30 that night and said, oh, we've been talking to one of the other surgeons, and there's a high risk of dogs having seizures after this operation, and the seizures usually don't happen until day 3 or 4 post-surgery. So maybe we should keep her in until Monday. And I'm like, oh, that's 3 extra nights. And that's over a weekend. And I'm like, oh, I mean, if she's okay, I'd rather just bring her home. But and then Roy and I just spent that whole night should we leave her? Should we bring her home? We just really didn't know what the best decision was. Anyway, they called the next day and said she'd had a really good night. She'd eaten. Everything looked good. So they said they were happy for us to bring her home as long as we could take her to the vet if anything came up. And then they said, come in and get her this morning so you can get on the road and take her home. So we went in there about 9:30, and yeah, they just went through all the discharge instructions, medications. She's on baby Panadol for 1 month old, which is a bit cute. And like, I guess that kind of fits because she's about 4 kilos. So it's probably about the size of a 1 month old baby. And also some anti-nausea medication, but she's been eating well. She's sleeping a lot. We've dragged a mattress out into the lounge room, and that's where the 3 of us have been camping out and sleeping because she's not meant to be jumping up on furniture. So we've been, yes, having a sleep out in the lounge room the last couple of nights. So yeah, and we're due to call with the surgeon this afternoon just for a checkup, and then in about a week and a half we'll take her just to our local vet to get her stitches out. And then food wise, the procedure, because basically what they had to do was, so she has an abnormal blood vessel that goes around her liver instead of through it, so her liver doesn't actually work, like it doesn't get rid of all the toxins in the body like it's supposed to, because her body is wired wrong and just misses that altogether. So what they've done is they've rerouted it, and they've put something in so that it will gradually close the one that's open, because if they just shut that off altogether and just started sending everything through the liver, like her poor little liver wouldn't be able to handle it. So it'll be about 6 weeks before it's completely closed off. So I'm assuming there'll be a process of checking bloods, things like that, before we even start to introduce normal food, meat products in particular. But yeah, so far it's positive. So yeah, we're at day 4 today, so no seizures, thank goodness. We've been lucky because a lot of dogs with this condition, a liver shunt, do have seizures, and she's had the neurological symptoms once when she was first diagnosed, but luckily we've avoided that since then. So yeah, so looking good, fingers crossed. She just continues to improve. They did say that with each day that passes, the chances of anything negative happening post-surgery is less and less likely, so that is really good. I'm wearing this ring at the moment. I'm looking into getting a smart ring, and you have to try out the sizing. They send you a sizing kit and suggest that you wear it for at least 24 hours to check the size. So that's what that is right now. So today, to get back on track with my 7.5K binder, I was considering just cutting it back to $5,000 because I was not on track to save $7,500. But then I've had my redundancy payout. So I mean, really, I've already saved more than $7,500 just with my redundancy payout. But I want to keep working at this each fortnight. And so I just thought I'll take $1,500 out of my redundancy and I'll put it towards this just to give it a boost. And then with my usual $200 every fortnight, it should get us to the 7.5K binder. And then we still get that little win that we did save the 7.5, because really I could just write this whole thing off and say, yeah, we've saved $23,000 towards all of this. But no, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep. So $1,500 is going to go in. And what I've calculated, I'm going to just finish a couple of these. So not that one, not that one, these two. So if I finish all of these, this comes to $980. And this one came to $300 and something. So that's those two done. And then for the rest, I was just gonna give this a bit of a boost. So I calculated if I finish June, which I should have already, but I didn't. And if I just do a couple of 30s to get ahead, and I got to September, and that made it to $1,500. You'll just have to trust me. But there we are, and now we can officially start on July when I finally film that video. And that's 1,500 added. So let's see what we've got now. All right, so we now have 4,555. So that is really good. So what's that, about 3,000 to go? So that's pretty good. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much to everybody who has commented and sent well wishes for Ngahri. It's been really, really sweet and definitely felt the love. Thank you so much to everybody who subscribes to this channel. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you so much to all you beautiful people who regularly like and comment on these videos. It really means a lot. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.